I am a married mother of two who is constantly stretched thin by my job, which is problem solving and working through issues that are getting logged on a computer 10 to 12 hours a day while trying to get kids where they need to go and get sporting events and making sure that everything runs when it needs to run. So I'm constantly bombarded by screens, children, and daily activities. In the course of my life, it's difficult for people to understand the challenges with ADHD because on the outside, you appear normal. And I'd say it's more difficult for women with ADHD because we present so much different. We're very good at hiding our ADHD or masking it. And that's detrimental in some ways because we are so good at it. What it's like to have ADHD is if you picture a world globe spinning, and it's spinning so fast, and you can almost see what you're supposed to see if you could just slow it down for a second, because you have so many different stimulus coming into your brain at once. And you just wish you could grab the globe and just look at it, just that one thing. Because you know if you could just look at that one thing, everything else would fall into place. That's what it's like to have ADHD. I was about as overwhelmed by the symptoms of ADHD before coaching that you can get. I was at my wit's end. I didn't know if I could continue on with my job. I assumed we were going to have to sell our house, move to someplace smaller. I was struggling to control every aspect of my life because I had hit just a brick wall. I could not control it anymore because I had too many things stacked on me. And I couldn't even fill out the paperwork until the day before I came. So it was about as bad as you could get. I could have been filling out the paperwork as I came in here, and it was still helpful. My path to being diagnosed with ADHD started when I was very young. I was told at a young age that I couldn't possibly have ADHD because I was a girl. And girls don't get ADHD. I don't present the same way as boys with ADHD. So it was a struggle. And for a lot of years, I was told, you shouldn't be doing this well. You wouldn't be scoring this high on test scores if you had this. You wouldn't be in your profession if you had this. But I did have it. And I could get one area of my life under control, but then I'd lose control of another area. And I finally was just tired. And I was finally lucky enough to be heard and diagnosed and was put on medication. And they told me at that time that getting therapy in combination with medication would be the best course of action. And since I had tried for so many years to just be heard and be seen, I thought it was the best course of action to do it in combination. At first, it was terrible, the combination of therapy and medication, because it goes against everything you've done your entire life. But the difference is you've done it one way your entire life and it didn't work. And then when you start to realize and take those baby steps, and they sound like just baby steps, it starts to open up this whole world of possibilities and this huge amount of time you didn't realize you had, and this skill set you didn't realize you had. Because once you throw yourself into something with ADHD, you're gonna thrive at that item that you throw yourself into. So when you decide that you're going to work at medication and therapy in combination, you're gonna do amazing. Managing life with ADHD was extremely difficult. You always think you have one area of your life under control, but one area is always spiraling. So no matter how hard you try, you'll always feel like you're failing in one area. So you could be just killing it at work, but something at home is falling apart, or you don't have a cleaning schedule, or your kids aren't quite balanced, or you're doing fantastic at home, but then you have projects falling at work. That's what it's like. It impacts your thinking skills in thinking that you will remember everything. You will remember the things that are very interesting, and you will immediately forget the things that are boring, or the things your brain has deemed unimportant. And those things could be very important. So you learn to make notes, and you live your life by Post-it notes or reminders, or by being late. You and your family are impacted by ADHD in a huge amount of ways. I find that it can go kind of one of two ways. You will either be the laid-back parent that kind of goes with the flow because you have a type A spouse that runs your life and just makes everything go, or you will be so afraid of that globe spinning out of control that you become that type A parent and everything has to be just so, or your life spins out of control. So there is no real balance, if that makes sense. Executive function impairments impacted me in ways that are difficult to describe. I struggled with planning any aspect of my life. I would have great ideas, great plans, but very few follow through. I would have deep dives where I would get everything done, but then I couldn't figure out a way to hold that great progress that I had done. And now I have those skills to maintain those executive function gains that I've made. Doesn't take as long as you think. The most helpful tool to me that caught me off guard, and my coach can attest to this, I fought tooth and nail against starting it, was the planner. I didn't want to start it. I didn't think it would help me. I thought, why am I wasting my time doing this planner? All of these things are in my head. And while they were in my head, having those things on paper allowed me to reference them very quickly. And it allowed the rest of my family to reference them very quickly. I didn't have to take that time to explain to everyone else around me what was happening in my head, because there is always things happening in my head. And it allowed me to take those out of my head and put it on paper and say, right there, it's right in the planner, just go look. So that was the tool that helped me the most. I am now able to use my planner and my skills that I've learned from coaching and use those executive functions to plan ahead my life more and realize when I have to get certain things done and when certain things have to be completed by in order for me to remain in a calm place and not become overwhelmed. I've also learned that I have to maintain that in my house and where I am able to allow myself, certain nights to stay up late, certain nights that have to maintain a certain bedtime, when I have to get up, when I have to do certain things to keep moving forward. Coaching has helped me understand that it wasn't all in my mind. ADHD is not in your mind. It is a part of you. It's always going to be a part of you. And in some ways, it's your superpower. It's just learning how to control your superpower. Coaching has improved how I take care of myself because I'm no longer frayed at the edges. I'm no longer hanging on for dear life. So it allows me extra time to take for myself and do more personal care for me. Before, I would have never taken an hour in a day to just have time for myself or to watch a show, because I would have been thinking during that entire time, I'm behind on this, I'm behind on that. I would have never taken the time to take a class for myself because I would have been thinking of what I needed to do. And now I can put that focus back on me, and it's helping me find time for me again. My coach didn't make me feel like a failure. If I missed something, it was, how can we work on getting to that goal? What do you think maybe held you back? We'd look over the executive functions and I'd realize, hey, I'm not great at this. What are some of the ways I can work on this? And we would tackle that executive function for that week or during that session and learn different ways to approach that way. Different techniques, encouraging me to try different approaches, encouraging me to reach out to friends who also had ADHD and find support. Coaching has made me more confident in my relationships. You hear from a lot of people, whether you want to or not, you hear the negatives from a lot of people of you're not trying hard enough, you're not doing the best you can. But when you hear from your coach, this is your brain, this is what your brain is, and your brain can get better with practice, you start to believe it. You start to shrug off those naysayers and say, no, this is my brain, this is my life, and I'm gonna live it, and I'm gonna be the best I can be. And you start to either remove those naysayers or you start to kind of check them and say, hey, this isn't your journey, it's mine. Coaching has impacted my parenting in a huge number of ways. I was diagnosed with ADHD shortly after my own child was. And I was able to take so many of the techniques that I was taught in coaching, and I was able to bring them home and implement them at my children's level as well. And knowing that I was able to do that and show them those techniques at a much younger level made me really happy that they were not going to have to go through 30 years of wondering why they couldn't do this and why they were different. And that made me really happy that I could do that. The staffing and the team here is fantastic. They are super welcoming, they're accommodating. Come into the office, you can be online. It's really fantastic how kind and approachable they are. Some of my accomplishments have been, I have been able to develop a cleaning schedule. I have developed a grocery ordering schedule. I now plan dinner every night. I have a planner that tells me what I'm doing at work every day, what my whole family is doing every day. I know what I'm doing weeks in advance. I have trips planned out for the end of the year as to what I need for those trips. I have SMART goals, which is planning for the future, which I would have never done. It would have been very much procrastinate until right before and then slam everything into a suitcase and then just leave. These are all things that would have never been possible for me before. People used to think that I just was able to live my life very carefree. And what I did was I lived under constant anxiety and then just ran for the border. And now I can actually be much more carefree because I have those skills that allow me to do so. During the coaching process, the thing that was most impactful to me was just how far gone I actually was. I thought I had my life much more balanced than it actually was. And when I started to pick it apart, I started to realize how much my life was balancing on a house of cards. And just one breeze could have knocked it over. One incident had potential to lead it to anxiety or stress. And now I'm at a place where that is much less likely to occur, where I have a much more solid base. Coaching has helped me at work because it allows me to budget my time a lot better. Before, I would struggle with procrastination, or I would move the projects I liked and were far more fun to the beginning, and then I would be stuck with a huge amount of tasks that were very boring to do at the end. And now I know that I have to intermingle some of those tasks within to allow myself to stay engaged. So setting a timer, or even for 15 minutes, to tackle those tasks that aren't my favorite. Because as a person with ADHD, I love to do my favorite things. And coming to the realization that I can't always do my favorite things has been difficult, but a growing experience. If you're just beginning your journey, it is difficult, and you are going to want to try and fight it. And the advice I can give you is, if you're going to go in, go all in. Just try. It will be painful sometimes. It can seem like a struggle sometimes, but just support each other and remember that at the end of the day, you should bet on you. And that's the way to do it, is bet on you. So do that extra work for yourself or your family member. I have a tendency to see my failures much more than my successes because it's easier to see the things that you didn't quite measure up to. My coach was able to say, hey, you did this and that was fantastic, and you did this and that was fantastic. You were able to complete this portion of the project. And seeing the fact that I was able to get portions of it done and congratulating me on those baby steps allowed me to become more confident and realize I could do the larger projects. I am so glad that I was able to find this coaching group, because if I didn't, I think I would be so much less farther in my journey. I would be trying to find these things out on my own, and I wouldn't have the guidance that I would need or the accountability that I would need. Your globe still spins. Your globe will never stop spinning because your brain is always going with ADHD. It just spins a little bit slower, and you're able to stop it when you need to. And you use your techniques to stop it, to look at the areas that you need to. That's what the globe looks like now, is while the globe still spins because you have ADHD, you're able to stop it and you're able to look at the areas that you need to.